It's Waxing Lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical with Mainz and Dutts. I'm your host, Mainz, and my colleague, a man who is ecstatic that more NFC's games are going to be flexed into primetime scheduling, is Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
If it takes them out of red zone time and I don't have to watch them, I'm more than happy with this.
10 billion with a B a year. The media companies are paying for that. Exclusive Thursday night rights for Amazon. It sounds like the 17th game may be exclusively on ESPN or ESPN Plus, and then the other standard stuff, of which ABC and ESPN are getting the Super Bowl.
The going rate, it would seem. If it means that, the salary cap isn't going to have any more catastrophic dips. But of course, we do know that the instruments will remain in place where teams will still not meet will still not spend more than 89% of the cap they can, because players really don't matter, do they?
No, exactly. That doesn't kick in until 2023 for New Orleans Saints fans who believe they're going to get an extra 100 million in the next half an hour. So creative accounting must still continue. This week, free agency upon us. We are well into it and a bit confused. I think we're 2 days officially into it, 4 days including legal tampering, although news was broke on Sunday, which would make it about 5 days. So we're going to go through our favourite moves, our worst moves, some fancy relevance related to such, and that will be it this week. We got two absolute classic Weird Worlds, one of which is in fact a update on a previous version.
We appear to be tracking this story.
The Waxing Lyrical news team have been following this story closely, so we will do that straight away. And let's get straight on to Weird World, Neil, and let's get straight on to that story. If you remember correctly, Neil, Crystal Jackson, which by the way wasn't her porn name, that was the real Mrs. Poindexter. Her kids got expelled from school because someone, not naming any names due to the fact that husband probably would have been divorced, and found that she had an OnlyFans account which was making thousands of dollars a week.
Found.
But the athletic director at a Catholic school resigned in the wake of kids getting expelled over their mother's online activities. 3 children of Crystal Jackson were expelled from Sacred Heart Parish. It's just magnificent that it's a Catholic school. Just thought I'd say that. All 3 boys are under the age of 12, so obviously she does it once they've gone to bed. Jackson and the other women appear nude and partially nude in photos and videos on the account. We're finding more out from WMC5 Action News here, because that's suggesting more than one lady. So 3 weeks ago, the school's unidentified athletic director forcibly resigned for his connection to the online content. His 2 kids were allowed to stay enrolled at Sacred Heart, but were reportedly taken out of the school shortly after his resignation. It was confirmed at least one other Sacramento mum with kids at Jesuit High School and Sacred Heart Parish also posted content on online OnlyFans. Neil, someone has scratched the surface on this quiet Sacramento town and found an absolute web of debauchery.
In, I think it was New York, 1972, there was a break-in reported at a quite well-to-do hotel in quite an affluent neighbourhood. This hotel was called the Watergate. And what happened after the break-in was reported and discovered is that it led to one sordid revelation after another, after another, after another. The end result being it brought down the President of the United States. This is... I think I speak in no exaggerated terms when I say this is the biggest scandal since Watergate because it's going to go all the way up to the top. We're going to see city officials, we're going to see mayors, we're going to see heads of councils, congressmen. It could even go all the way up to the president. And let's be honest, the last president, would we be surprised? This is, it's the story of the decade.
This is. I'm gonna continue with the story because it's magnificent. This is my favourite line. The growing scandal has parents weighing in but asking to remain anonymous. I wonder why.
Why? Just give us your username. We won't know who you are.
A Catholic school isn't just a school. That's why they want to send their kids there, because it is a community of people that come together for shared values. One mother said, "Please,
coming together would be the operative term. Yeah.
Can someone think of the kids? If you don't share those values and you are actively trying to undermine them, I feel like it's only fair that you were asked to leave." Neil, I think it's time to share that we had 4 acquaintances. I think friends is probably a stretch, who lived in our local area, who we defined as the 4 swordsmen of the apocalypse, mainly due to the fact that they were terrible human beings.
Yep.
Should be in jail, although I think the majority of them now are policemen, but that's probably a different story for another time. And we believe that if all 4 were together at the same place at the same time, the world would end. I'm pretty sure 3 of them went to a Catholic school.
No, all 4 went to a Catholic school. The same Catholic school.
Moran went to Catholic school. Sorry, not Moran. Mr. Smith went to Catholic school, did he?
Mr. Smith did, in fact, go to the Catholic school, yes, along with Mr. Jones, Mr. Jacobs, and Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson is a spectacular name. Thank you for hiding those persons' identities.
Yeah, as we say, it was ill-advisable for more than 2 of them to be in the same place at once. It was a borderline disaster if 3 of them were, and if all 4 were, as you say, it was a bit like the Shankara stones from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. As they came closer together, they became hotter and hotter, and eventually could lead to mutual annihilation. That's pretty much what it would be like if all 4 of them had been in the same place, having attended the same Catholic school.
Anyway, let's move on from our political and religious leanings to a story about deepfake videos. Neil, are you aware of what a deepfake video is?
Nope.
So a deepfake video is where you are able to superimpose or deepfake someone else's face onto videos to make it look like it is them. If you go onto Twitter and look at trending at the moment, the really sensible QAnon people are suggesting that Joe Biden isn't real, and are suggesting that you can prove it by looking at him doing a speech. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about here, because we're not talking about them because they're proper weird. We're talking about a 50-year-old Bucks County woman who sent teen daughters' cheerleading coaches fake photos and videos of depicting her rivals naked, drinking or smoking, to get them kicked off the squad. My ask to you, Neil, is: did your parents ever do anything to try and help you further your career in any sporting endeavour?
God, no. My parents knew I was shit. There was no point.
I mean, let's be honest. There's a rumour, a vicious rumour, that will neither be confirmed nor denied on this here pod, that once my parents were trying so desperately not to further my career that they called a ball out in tennis that was clearly in, and someone on that said tennis court threw a tennis racket at them.
It's not an unconfirmed rumour if it's actually happened.
Well, it's unconfirmed that I threw a tennis racket at them because there was a fence in the way, so I threw it at the fence.
Of course, yeah. The fence. It was the fence that was the...
Well, the fence didn't call it out when it was clearly in.
And yet you threw your tennis racket at the fence? So
yeah, I did, because that's what you do, isn't it?
That's what you do.
That's what I did. Raffaella Spone, good name, was charged with 2 misdemeanors. Spone is facing 3 counts of cyber harassment of a child and 3 counts of harassment. An investigation last year led officers to discover that Spone had sent harassing text messages directly to the teenagers. As well. As the investigation continued, more teenagers came forward who were all part of a travelling cheerleading group the Victory Vipers. Spone last year created the doctored images of at least 3 members, according to an affidavit. There were no indications that Spone's daughters knew what her mother was doing. This is spectacular. Kate, my wife, loved Dance Moms. Right? Don't know if you've ever seen it. If you haven't, don't watch it because it's crazy. But if wives or girlfriends or yourselves like Beverly Hills, Desperate Housewife, live, reality TV nonsense, Dance Moms is up there because it's literally loads of little kids dancing while their parents bitch about all the other parents. This sounds exactly what's happened here with the Vipers. Amazing.
See, what happened to such wholesome activities that were depicted in shows like Degrassi Junior High? And the one with the twins, I can't remember it.
California Girls?
No, Sweet Valley High.
Sweet Valley High, yeah. Good one.
Yeah. Not California Dreams, that was a total different thing. That was
They were a band, though, no?
The California Dreams were a band, yeah, but let's say they were a band in this show that was a blatant knockoff of Saved by the Bell, which is ironic because it was created by the same people. So, do you have no other ideas? Is that it? But I digress.
I think that is literally the only things they've got. If you love Weird World as much as we do, again, two ones, both American, neither of which Florida, but we're getting closer. Please send them to @waxing_lyrical or individually to me @Mainzy7 or to Neil @End13. Neil, we should really get on with free agency moves and let's see how it's been going in the NFL this past week or so. So Neil, first of all, I think we should all be happy and glad to see that in the first week of free agency, one thing has remained steadfast, and that is the AFC East have kept their title as the off-season kings. However, although as we speak, Will Fuller has just signed for the Dolphins, it's only a 1-year deal, so maybe it's not off-season-tastic like the Dolphins usually are. Because this year, that title has been taken by none other than the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I say, got to spend it all. The best thing was someone, I forget who it was, tried to justify it, saying the Patriots put themselves in a great position last year to be as aggressive and bold in acquiring talent this year. Yeah, my wife deliberately left me so I could get a new girlfriend, apparently, by that rationale. They needed to do something because their offense last year was, I'm not going to say borderline unwatchable, because that would be an upgrade. It was unwatchable filth. So, I'm not saying that they've gone out and invested in superstars. I think Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry are good tight ends. Nelson Aguilar has had his moments. Kendrick Bourne is better than what they had. We know that the Patriots want to run the ball. They had the second lowest pass rate in neutral game situations last year, behind only the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens were a little bit better at running the ball than the Patriots were. So we know they want to run the ball. They re-signed Cam Newton as well, of course. So they have taken steps towards improving. These all just seem like Belichick moves that he would make in one season. Sorry, in over a period of seasons, but he's done them all at once. He's brought in a veteran tight end. Maybe you bring in a tight end and a wide receiver. Only he brought in 2 wide receivers and 2 tight ends. Okay, it smacks slightly of a coach/GM who doesn't want to wait for to get back to relevance. Wants to do it now.
It's interesting, right? At a grand scheme of things, I haven't really got anything tremendously against any of the signings. I'm not a massive Nelson Aguilar fan. Whatever, you thought he was good last year in Oakland. I do like Jonnu Smith. What it usually highlights is, and I should know this because Washington used to win free agency, is your team is talent poor and you have a lot of space because you haven't been able to re-sign any of your draft picks. And it's like been an elephant in the room, I guess, for a number of years. But the Patriots have become very bad at drafting players. And when you become very bad at drafting players, you don't have to re-sign players you've drafted. and therefore you have spaces available and money to spend on those picks. What you should have an issue is where you struggling to re-sign your own players. So if we take Washington as an example, which is we're living in a bizarro world where we're slagging off the New England Patriots and praising Washington, they're going to have to try and find money for Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, and Chase Young over the next few years, right? And probably may not be able to get all of them, but that's a position you want to be in.
Yeah.
But if you've got money to spend in free agency, it usually means you've done a bad job in a draft.
Well, it's been an elephant in the room, the fact that the New England Patriots have been systematically unable under Bill Belichick to draft wide receivers. Julian Edelman apart. Everyone else, you go back to the likes of Chad Jackson and people like that. Malcolm Mitchell was good, but obviously had a degenerative knee condition. They've struggled to draft tight ends since Gronk and Hernandez. Whatever happened to him? They've struggled to fill the hole on offense and have had to lean on free agents. They're not alone in this. Obviously, we've seen over the last 20 years that Baltimore, can't draft wide receivers. The Eagles will always pick the wrong one, it seems. But for a team to have been as consistently successful as the Patriots have and be mediocre at best when it comes to drafting skill position, it just speaks to the talent of the quarterback they had. Obviously, they do not have this quarterback anymore. Cam Newton was, as a passer, was not great last year. Did score 12 rushing touchdowns, but he averaged 177 passing yards a game. That's not going to get it done anymore. You can be a running team if you want. Yeah, that's great. Even Lamar Jackson averages more passing yards than that. So it's going to be interesting. The Patriots offense is historically difficult to pick up. So with all these new parts, you wonder how much jiggery-pokery Josh McDaniels is going to have to do. But, it's as you say, it's the AFC East making headlines in March, when that's not when really you want to be making the headlines.
It's not. Yeah, let's move on, Neil. Want to do fave moves, worst move, and possibly best fancy move. So, for you, what has been your favourite move so far in free agency?
It's hard to say, because generally, if you go to free agency from a position of needing these players, that's not great. Free agency is what you should use to augment your talent. As you say, you draft and develop your own players. You bring in free agents. You bring in free agents just to help you on the margins and push you over the edge. I do like Will Fuller to the Dolphins to say it's a good deal for him because it's 1 year. So he can come in, Will Fuller is a strange cat because he is a perennially damaged brand. I mean, he's either injury prone and doesn't play a full 16 games, or he plays a big chunk of the season and gets busted for PEDs. So we can never win with him. So he's going to be suspended for 1 game, obviously. If he can then play the 15 other games, if he can develop a rapport with Tua and he can become, the go-to guy in that offense, he's not just a one-dimensional field stretcher, then it's good for him, because then maybe he can, if he's not going to get paid again this time next year by Miami, he'll get paid by someone else. There's been a few other moves where you look and think, yeah, I really like that. I think you'll say one. What the Chargers have done.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be mine. Because it's you get Justin Herbert and you've struggled on the offensive line, and one of the most important ones. I think it's changed a lot. When we first started watching, it was purely like left tackle, right? That was the only thing. But I think, given the way the league is now and the movement and whatever, like, centre is becoming more and more important, and getting Corey Lindsey from the Packers is a big upgrade for the Chargers and allows them to help Justin Herbert get better. I think that, for me, is why you would do it, right? Because you may not be able to get the offensive lineman you want, so take one who you know is a proven commodity elsewhere.
Yeah, and obviously centre is... I'm not an offensive line guru, as everyone will tell you, but the centre's job is pretty much the same in every offense. It's pretty much snap the ball, then go and do your thing. So it's not as scheme dependent as maybe guards, depending on what scheme you want to run. You're gonna run a lot of power, things like that, pin and pull and all that. Whereas the centre is pretty much a good centre should be a fit everywhere, which is why Alex Mack has had success at Cleveland, Atlanta, and now obviously he's going to San Francisco. But yeah, it's one of those, if you have the young quarterback, you want to protect him. It sounds a foreign concept to some teams, but Cincinnati, who've done absolutely nothing to help Joe Burrow, but I digress. It's the third time I've digressed. We've only been on for 10 minutes. You protect him, you surround him with playmakers while he's cheap. You can afford to be more indulgent and extravagant on other areas, and protection is what one should be. That should be one of those areas in which you do it.
I think if I look, and I'm just going to do it, Neil. Why not? I give an honourable mention to the Washington football team. They signed Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's not spectacular. He's fun.
He's Ryan Fitzpatrick.
He's Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? He's fun. Like, does that mean we don't make the playoffs because he never does? Okay, fair enough. But they either need a quarterback, but then won the division almost by accident because everybody else was worse, which means you fall out of that position of being in a position to draft a quarterback. I think they will now struggle to do so. They'd have to move up a considerable lot from 19 to get there, considering it sounds like most of these are going to be gone in the top 8, if not 6. So what do you do? Well, you get someone in who can do a job, and push it along next year. You look at what's going on with Deshaun Watson. You look at what's going on with Russell Wilson. You look what something else may fall your way. You don't know, but you've got a decent team around them, and you get Ryan Fitzpatrick. So yeah, good. It's sensible off-season planning, considering you're not going to be able to get the franchise quarterback that you want and need.
And as well, while we're dishing out honourable mentions to Washington, you have to like the fact that they went out and got Curtis Samuel as well, because it now gives them a 3 in the passing game. You've got Terry McLaurin, you've got Logan Thomas, and you've got Curtis Samuel. You look at all these other teams, where they seem to fall down is when they have a duo pass catching, but that third option is missing. I'm not going to say that the Kansas City Chiefs are a bad offense because they only have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, but in the Super Bowl they needed someone to step up other than those two, and no one did. Yeah. So I'm not saying, obviously, now that Washington's offense is up there with Kansas City, but there's now Terry McLaurin who can be the guy. There's Logan Thomas who can do his thing, and there's Curtis Samuel.
Correct.
So it's as opposed to having the Sims twins. Footnote, they're not twins. That the Washington peddled out last year. This now looks a little bit more potent, and also as we know with Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's going to be a damn sight more aggressive than Alex Smith was.
Correct. It's the opposite, right? It's almost the opposite player.
As I pointed out to you, Washington have gone from the player taken first in the 2005 draft to the player taken 250th.
It's not a long-term solution, far from it, but it's a solution, and it will hopefully be good this year. We shall see. Neil, worst move in free agency so far?
Everything the Las Vegas Raiders have done. You have cut or traded or moved half of your offensive line when that was your strength to overpay for a backup running back. Why? What are you doing? These are the moves that a coach into the 4th year of a 10-year contract makes because he's a blithering idiot. What are you doing? Seriously, Kenyon Drake was not good for Arizona. He really wasn't. I hate to bother you. If you bring him in to be the pass-catching back, explain to me then why Chase Edmonds was used more as the receiver than Kenyon Drake was. Why did you take Josh Jacobs in the 1st round when everyone said you shouldn't? If you're not going to use him on all 3 downs. Josh Jacobs is a very good runner. He's probably a better pass catcher than the Raiders are allowing him to be, because they continue to stock up on subpar secondary talent. I mean, Jalen Richard, Devontae Booker, and now Kenyon Drake. You've cut all this money, you've made all these moves to make your offensive line worse, to overpay for a backup running back. This is why they're having to say to like Marcus Mariota, you need to take a pay cut or we're going to cut you. As Warren Sharp says, Mariota should tell him to go piss up a rope.
Yeah,
say, fine, cut me then.
Yeah, the thing I don't understand about this from the Raiders' point of view is the offense wasn't the problem last year. This is classic Gruden, right? If you remember his time in Tampa Bay, where he just constantly changed quarterbacks because he got bored of them, and it's why I lost. You gotta just eat, because it's just what Gruden does. He just got to tinker. The defense was a disgrace, and they want to blow up the offensive line. Like, well, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but you know, this is a AFC attack because you didn't go for the Houston Texans, who seem to have signed Tyrod Taylor, Mark Ingram, Andre Roberts, lost Will Fuller, having one barnstorming fight with their franchise quarterback, and you just, you know, what are you doing? It's
too easy to point at things the Houston Texans do and say that was a mistake. They wake up in the, you know, it's that old joke, you know, I woke up this morning and my wife said, no, I hate it when you do that. The Houston Texans are that franchise. Every day someone goes into their facilities, flicks the light switch on, turns the power, you know, all the computers come on, all the monitors. It's a mistake. It's going to lead to a mistake. But this is what classy franchises do.
I think if we, you know, we wouldn't be internet savants and Twitter regulars if we didn't have thoughts on the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton going to Chicago now.
Andy Dalton is a serviceable mid-level average NFL starter. The average QB rating in the NFL last year was 95.6. Andy Dalton has never passed for 95.6 in a season in his career. Is he an upgrade on Mitchell Trubisky? Probably, because he will at least be used in the way that Matt Nagy tried to use Mitchell Trubisky. Is he the answer? No. But what's the question? This is the problem. Chicago have spun their wheels in the dirt for more than a century at the quarterback position. Do you even know what one is? No, you don't. Because you've probably... I mean, I'm not going to say they've had them, because they haven't. You know, their list of quarterbacks who've thrown passes for them since they last won a Super Bowl, it's not impressive.
No.
But they just, you know, they've spun their wheels. As people have said, I didn't realise, by the way, how many Bears fans I actually follow on Twitter. The mistake was not passing on Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was, you know, from where he was coming from, there was still this, you know, the air of, oh, it's the air. Passing on to Deshaun Watson was the sin. Trading up to take Mitchell Trubisky while Deshaun Watson was there, that was the sin. And every move they've done since then has done nothing to alleviate that mistake. Andy Dalton can come up and, you know, it's just a question again of the Bears decided, do you know what, let's just run it. We were 8-8 last year. We were a playoff team. Yeah, when 7 teams made the playoffs. You wouldn't have gone in any other year. But, yeah, let's go again. Why not?
Let's play a game. Where was Andy Dalton last year?
He was Dallas.
How did he get to Dallas? He was a free agent because he'd been let go by the Cincinnati Bengals. So the Bears could have done this last year, but decided to give away draft picks and spend a fortune on Nick Foles. This could have happened last year.
Of course.
He's still there, of course. This, you know, teams make bad decisions in the draft. It happens all the time. But it's what you do around those decisions that says what you're doing, right? We were talking about Washington and Chicago, okay? And Chicago won more games than Washington, but we all feel better about Washington. And they took a first round quarterback a mere 2 years ago. Get rid of them and do something else, but then don't draft. They don't get quarterback. They never have got quarterback. And as you quite rightly pointed out, we had our friend James Dixon, who's in our dynasty league, and he's a Bears fan. And he was nearly crying in a group chat about how bad Chicago quarterbacks have been. And you know what? He's not wrong.
Yeah, it's as a wise man once said. He who makes a mistake and doesn't correct the mistake has made two mistakes. And that's what Chicago have done. It shouldn't have taken Trubisky. Okay, we should move on at the earliest possible moment. No, let's just keep spinning our wheels with him. I mean, Mark Schofield came onto this show 3 years ago to tell us his mechanics frightened the living piss out of him. And what has happened in 3 years? Nothing.
Neil, who's your favourite fantasy move?
My favourite fantasy move is actually it's a move that helps a player that is not the player that was signed. It's Marvin Jones signing for Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. Now, Marvin Jones actually ended last season very well. He really, stepped into the number one receiver chair in Detroit when Kenny Golladay mysteriously didn't want to play. So he's going to Jacksonville now. That means that it's probably going to be him and DJ Chark on the outside, which is a shame because both of them are pretty much going to cancel each other out. But what that does mean is that Laviska Shenault should play in the slot. Now, Laviska Shenault, when he came into the NFL, if you actually look at him from a physical point of view and from a production point of view, he profiles remarkably similar to A.J. Brown. You put someone who's like A.J. Brown in the slot, 80% of his snaps, give him the ball and say, go on, make magic happen with Yak. Oh, God, yes. So, it's one of those wide receivers changing teams. Apart from last year, we've seen it in the past. It very rarely pans out. So Marvin Jones is not going to go and be a fancy superstar with Jacksonville. Curtis Samuel is not going to be a fancy superstar with Washington. I hate to tell you this. Will Fuller is going to be a boom or bust player in Miami. Kenny Golladay, wherever he ends up, please... Eagles, find some money. Find some money. Do the Alshon Jeffrey thing with him and say, look, come for 1 year. Just do it. Do not let him go to the Bears, the Giants, or Cincinnati. Do something, Howie. Make this right.
Am I missing something on Golladay? We may as well come on to. I was going to say Samuel, but not because it's Samuel. Similar to what you said, you look at what it does to McLaurin, you look at what it does to Logan Thomas, it frees up space, that kind of situation. So I kind of agree with you. But let's go on dominoes left to fall. I guess we talk first of all about Kenny Golladay. He's had a meeting. I didn't know they still did that anyway. With the Giants, the Bears, and there's rumours of the Bengals. Like, we love Kenny Golladay on this here podcast. Why are these god-awful teams the only ones talking to him?
I would assume that I'm going to assume this, that the word has got out that he probably might want more money than teams are prepared to pay, considering he only played 5 games last season. Also considering his age. I mean, this is going to be his 5th year in the NFL, but he is already 28. He was an older prospect coming in.
True.
Maybe teams have question marks about his hip, because I say he only played 5 games last year, and maybe some teams are concerned that he seemed so close to returning on several occasions last year and didn't. Now, I wouldn't want to play for Detroit with Matt Patricia around either. But maybe that's concerning the football guys. But as I say, if he's going to sit out there that long, he's going to be reasonable. His money's going to drop. Make it happen, Roseman, you bellend. You did it before once. Find some money. Get it done.
Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't think we're as surprised as, you you listen to media outlets, that he hasn't signed, because we have reservations about what he is and who he is and can he do it in certain situations. And I assume he wants paying as a one, and teams are like, no thank you.
It's one of those, if you want paying as a one and you have got to the second day of the league year after 4 days of legal and illegal tampering, you're not going to get paid as a one. So again, you have to start looking for connections, looking for lifelines, as Ross Tucker used to call them. Now, let's play a little game. What if the New York Jets don't want to draft one of these quarterbacks and are prepared to go one more year with Sam Darnold? Who did Sam Darnold throw the ball to at USC?
Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah. So you come in, you say, Jamison Crowder, we can save $10 million if you piss off. You're only going to play in the slot anyway. You bring in Juju to play in the slot. Again, might only be for a 1 year thing. 1 year, prove it. So now you have an offense with Darnold, Denzel Mims, Corey Davis, and Juju Smith-Schuster. Okay, now I can see this. Now you're actually putting in place some weapons for maybe Sam Darnold to do something. And with that, now pretty much you've said to teams, look, we're not taking one at a quarterback at 2, open for business. You take the bounty of picks, you invest in on the offensive line or the defense, you do something, and you say, we'll give Darnold 1 year. And if he's great, we can franchise tag him. If he's not, well, we're going to be shit again, so we can find out what we got next year. But again, they've got the cap space anyway, and they'll have the more cap space if they say, look, you're going to come in and do the Jamison Crowder job. We don't need Jamison Crowder here, so let's cut him and free that up.
Love it. T.Y. Hilton finally, Neil. Veteran. Has he got anything left? Could he give someone he strikes me as someone who you'd get on a playoff team. You know what I mean? Bit of experience, bit of nous. No, he's not going to be explosive. He's really, really close to 10,000 receiving yards, and I wonder if that's what he's trying to get to. Although it may take him 2 years, because I think it's about 1,200.
I think it's one of those with T.Y. Hilton. He either goes back to the Colts, or he goes to a team where, again, let's think lifelines. If Howie doesn't want to play for Kenny Golladay, I'm pretty sure T.Y. Hilton was around with Nick Sirianni of the Colts. I'm not saying T.Y. Hilton was going to come in and be a game changer for the Eagles. He's not the deep threat he once was, but you'd think, well, they don't need him to be. They have Jalen Reagor. If it's a question of someone who can come in and run these routes, get the ball in his hands, and make some magic happen with the yak, he could be a fit with the Eagles. I'm not saying I'd go out my way, and be buying Hilton jerseys if it happened, but I think there is the danger, and it is a danger because he's been a fun player to watch, that maybe if he doesn't go to the Colts, maybe he doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, true. We're a long way from the season starting, but lots of stuff still to come. Free agency to continue, draft to continue, and then obviously previewing the season. But that's it for this week. Neil, is there any content that people can catch you on other than this here podcast?
I have done some writing for RotoViz this week on some free agency moves. As I say, I've written about Jonnu Smith, I've written about Hunter Henry, and written about Marvin Jones. I'll have another one up on another signing that took place, Gerald Everett, another of my long-term tight end faves. He's joined the Seahawks. Particularly, it's about. I will have some pieces out for Player Profile this week. I conducted a rookie mock draft. And also I'll have another of my Meet the Metrics, this one about Target Premium. But other than that, follow me on Twitter at Endleton13.
Fantastic, Neil. I am at Maindy7. Combine me at waxing_lyrical. Enjoy the rest of free agency. Enjoy loving or hating all them signings. And until next time, these top guys are out.